Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to show you a basic setup for fishing dry fly. We'll show you it rod in a bit. The one I normally use is an 8 foot 3/4 weight. It's a Grey Flex, Grey's rod. It's a nice little rod. We'll show you that in a bit. But the setup I'm going to be showing you is this. Now this is a 4 floating line, a weight foot. It's in fact it's a double taper 4 floating line. This is a fairly old one. It's an hardy one, but it's still a good line. And what I'm going to do is attach a tapered leader. Now this actually tapers down to a 2 pound point. I'm just going to show you the two ends of this just to show you the difference. I'll just take that tippet off. We'll tie that in again at some time. Put that on there. Alright, now here we go. This is a 9 foot leader. Now I'm just going to hold them two together and just see if we can pick out the difference. It actually tapers down from that thickness to that, and on this end we can actually put a length, something a little bit finer, something like a 2 pound, little bit in finer line. I'll show you that one later. But to attach this to our main line, which as I say is a double taper, I'm going to use a needle knot. And all you do, inside this plastic coated line is a hollow braid, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find the centre of that and slide this needle up inside it. Now I'm only going up about 1/8 of an inch, 3-4 millimeters, and then I'm going to push that out through the side of that fly line, and that just creates something now that I can use to push through. Now it's a little bit tight, this one, so I'm just going to use these pliers to actually push that through, and I'm going to drag it right through to the other side, so it should create a big enough opening for me to thread this line through. Now I'm just going to prepare this, get this fine end, and I'm going to thread that through that hole that I've just made. That's a little bit tricky, this. There we go. Now that's through, and I can pull that right through until I get near to the end. Now I don't know if you can see that. That's actually come right through. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie a knot. Now leave yourself a few inches to play with. If you form a loop, and then all you're doing is passing that free end through that loop, round both lines, normally about 4 turns. That's the 4. And now I'm going to start pulling this tight. Now that's just slipped down a bit, so I might have to just reform this one in a bit. I'm going to keep in control of that. So I'm just going to undo that again. This is the thing about fishing, you will make a few mistakes. In fact, if you like us, you'll make a lot of mistakes. And I'll just reform that, and I'll just try and keep it away from that end. So now I'm going to pass that through 4 times. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Start pulling that tight. Now before I pull it too tight, because it'll actually lock onto the line, this, I'm going to slide it towards where I made the hole for the line to go through, for this leader to go through. And if I slide that down into position, now I can actually tighten that knot up. And that's it. It's a nice neat connection. And all I'm going to do now is trim that as close to the knot as I can, and that's your connection. As simple and as easy as that. And now to the other end, I'm going to add a length, a £2 line. This is one of the pre-stretch ones. It's nearly the same diameter as this, maybe a little bit less. And the way to attach this one, the one that I like, is this way. If you lay the two lines together, just take that excess knot off. And again, it's the same knot as I've just used on the main fly line. Form a loop, give yourself plenty to play with, and pass it through that loop, round both lines, 4 or 5 times. And then just pull that one tight. Now if you turn that line round again, and take your other line, and again what you're doing is you're forming that same loop, and then pass that through again. 1, just pull that through, 2, 3, and that's 4. And again, if you pull on the two ends of the line now, that knot will actually close down onto itself, and that's it. That's your connection. So now all I'm going to do is trim them loose ends off. It's the exact same principle if I'm using an nymph line. Normally what I'll use with a nymph line is I'll tie a level piece of tippet material in, normally around about 6 to 7 foot long, and then I might put a lighter tippet onto the end of that. But we'll also use what we call a little bung. It helps to spot the bites a little bit easier. That's something we'll show you a little bit later on. Now I'm just going to wind that onto the reel. Try and leave a tag end showing on this one. See if it actually gets into your line, you'll have a job actually finding it, and sometimes it gets trapped and you'll actually cut into your fly line. Now that's for the dry fly. Now for the nymph, more or less the same setup. As I said, this one is tied with a level piece, a £6 mono, which is Maxima, and again it's the same connection that we're going to use on this one. So I'm just going to snip this one and show you that connection again. Right, again I'm going to form a needle knot, and this, push it up through the central core 2 or 3 millimeters, and then out through the side. So use a pair of pliers just to pull that in. Now because I'm using a level piece of line on this one, I'm going to actually pull this through with a needle. This makes it a little bit easier.
What's this knot called, Tom?
The knot on it, it's a nail knot. Sorry, a needle knot. I mean, you can actually do what they call a nail knot, which is on the outside of the line. I prefer this one, it's a lot neater. And all I'm going to do now is pull that line right through that with that needle, and that's it. That's actually through the central core and out through the side of that fly line. Makes a nice neat tapered finish. Again, the same knot. Give yourself plenty to play with. Form a loop and just pass that around both lines through that loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start tightening that down. I'm just going to slip that down to where I've actually put that line through that core. once I get down to that position, I can just start neatening that knot up, and I can pull it tight. Alright, nearly into position. Just take that free end. That's it, that's nice and tight. This gives a nice connection. And again, just trim off that tag end. Fairly close. And that's it. That's ready to go. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to show you our way that we spot the bites. And what we tend to use is a piece of foam as an indicator. Always carry a few of these in this jacket, along with a few spare needles. In fact, I'll use that needle. And I'm just going to trim this one down a little bit too big.
What is it, this stuff, Tommy?
This is just a closed cell foam that they're using, packing material. We cut it with a car aerial, just an old car aerial of the right size, and sharpened and then twisted through the foam. I mean, you can do it with a drill, on a drill, and it does cut it nice and neat. And all we're going to do is we're going to push a needle right through the centre of that. And this is going to be our basic indicator. Now before I actually put that on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one of these. I've got some spare ones here somewhere. There we go. Now these are called float stops. It's a little piece of rubber with a fine diameter hole in it. It's actually threaded onto some line. And the way to attach these is to pass the end of your leader through that and then pull off one of those, and that is now attached onto my leader, and that's going to act as a stop for this foam indicator. I'm going to put one both sides of it so I can actually move it on the line, so I can fish different depths if I need to. And again, just pass that through the needle, pull that through there.
You pull it foam onto the line, yeah.
And that's it. And that's attached. Now I'm going to add another one of these little stops. And again, just place your leader through that loop and pull off that stop. Slide that into position, and that's it.
Hold on. But just lower it down a little bit, Tommy, so I can see it. Lower it down on your jacket a bit. That's it. I can make it out. Now, so it's just a piece of foam. Let me just set my lens up for that. Just a minute. That's it. It's got it now. So that's just a piece of foam with two rubber stoppers at either side, and you can actually acts as a float, doesn't it, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, that's all it is. It's an indicator for something to watch. I mean, you can actually use your fly line and watch that. This just works a bit better for us sometimes, because we can adjust the depth of that for different swims. It just means we don't have to keep messing about with our setups too much. And on the end of this one, what we'd normally do is tie a 3 or 4 pound tippet, which we attach the fly to. That will show you when we do get round to fishing. So that's your basic setups. And now what we're going to do is we're going to thread one of these lines onto our rod, and we're just going to show you a basic casting technique, and we'll do that outside. The basic setup, this is the one that I use quite a lot. It's a Gray's Grayflex 8 foot 3/4 weight, which means it'll cast a 3 or 4 weight line. I mean, I can actually put a 5 weight on this one as well. We'll just show you the markings on the rod, because some people get confused with that. If you look at that, it says Greyflex 8 foot, and then you've got a 3-stroke 4 with a little sign at the side of it. Now that's your weight rating for your line. The lines you can buy in either weight forward or double taper. We tend to use double tapers on the river. Now the one I've got fitted to this one's a double taper 4. It's a Hardy line, which is a nice line. Now I'm going to thread the line through the rings and just show you the setup that we use, and we'll show you a little bit of casting with this one. So now I'm just going to thread this line through the rings, trying not to miss any. And I've put the glasses on, but I'm not using them. I'm looking over the top of them. I can't believe I've done that. Well, it's a good eye day today for me, this bright sunshine. Once we've got this through, what I'm also going to do, I'm going to find a big dry fly, and I'm going to just cut the barb off it so we can cast it. Right, so now I've threaded that through, and all I'm going to do is pull that line through. Now one of the first things you must do with this one is I'm going to grease this line up, and it's a silicone grease that we normally use. So about 10-15 foot of line, take that out of the rod tip. And I'm just going to get some of this floating. Right, we're just going to pop a little bit of grease on this line. Right, all I'm going to do, pull that through that cloth. This helps maintain its floatability and stops it getting a little bit waterlogged. If you get to where you've actually joined the lines together, where you've got your knot, try and force a little bit of that silicone grease inside that joint. That stops any water penetration up your line, which it will affect it.
That's your leader, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, what you find is where you've joined it, because it's an hollow core, it can absorb water up it, but if you try and coat enough grease and force that inside it, it just stops that bit of penetration. I'm just going to wipe that back through again. Don't need a lot on. And this is a brand new line. It probably wants stretching because it's been on the reel for quite a time, this one. One of the lines I normally save for best. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach a fly to this, but I'm going to cut the barb off. And I'll show you how to cast. I'm just going to wind this line back on. I'm just going to cut the bend off this hook so it's not going to catch in the grass when I cast it. Now, the knot I'm going to use on this one is a double tucked blood knot, which is pass the line through the eye and just pass that line around the other one about 5 times, and then if you pass that end through the first loop and then pull it back through your top loop, that is called a double tuck blood knot, and that's it. Just trim that, and now we're ready. Right, we're just going to get into a position where you should be able to see this fly line and what's happening when we're casting, and just watch the casting action, which is a lot of times on the river we're using a lot of wrist action because we're under trees and things. We'll try and explain that as we do it, but we're just going to get into position over here.
Right, so Tom's doing a bit of casting. He's casting above his head, but you won't get much chance to cast like that because of trees on river. So you'll have to learn to cast across your body from side to side, and this is all down to practice and timing and getting a feel for the rod. The best place to do this is in the park or on a bit of waste ground or on your garden if it's big enough. And as you can see, Tom's not using a great deal of effort. He's hardly moving his arm. He's just loading that rod up, and it's the rod what's doing the work. The line is going its full extent on the back cast, and as it comes forward, you just tap that rod as though it were tapping a nail with your hammer. And as you'll see when we start fishing, you don't have to cast any great distances to catch fish, as most of them are caught within range about a rod's length. Right, we're going to get set off after this next couple of casts and do a bit of fishing on river.
Tackle up. I'm just going to thread this line through rings. A little bit windy. My eyes are a little bit knackered.
And what's this set up for, Tom? Dry fly?
This is set up for dry, yeah. We've got a tapered leader on, 9-foot tapered leader, and 2 or 3 foot a tippet material on this one, about £2 breaking strain. It's fairly fine stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this through, and then I'm going to grease my line. That just helps float it. So just check that that's gone through all rings. Strip a bit of this off. That line I'm using is a double taper 4. It's an hardy line. And all I'm going to do is grease it up.
And what's that do, Tom?
It just helps line to float, stops it sinking on the surface. Oh, to just rub a little bit of this onto the line.
And it's put on with a pad?
Yeah, just a little cotton pad. So I get plenty into that where I actually joint fly line on. It's at leader. Make sure that's coated. Now I'm about ready to tie a fly on. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie something fairly small on this one. I've got a little pararattle midge here. It's got a little foam post on it. Oops.
You stole it up to your jacket, Tom.
Right, this is on a size 20.
Right. Yep.
So now, because it's on a size 20,
I need his glasses.
I would have to put my glasses on. We've been watching river for a while, and there's one or two fish rising, but we can't see anything that's actually coming off. That's one of the reasons I'm putting something small on. There'll be one or two terrestrials getting blown in off trees, so we might even try something a little bit different later on. Now I'm using a double tuck blood knot for this, which is a good knot. Pull that gently into place. And now I'm ready. One thing we normally advise as well with fly fishing is always wear a pair of sunglasses. You do get odd mishap where a bad cast and you might get fly coming back towards your head and face. Last thing you want is a fly in your eye. So a pair of polarised sunglasses. They do help on river as well because you can spot a few more fish moving sometimes. So now I'm ready. I'm just going to get into the river, position myself where I think I should be able to get a cast in and see what we can do. Right, I've just got into position, and what I'm going to do now is I can't cast normal side with all trees and cover. I'm going to back cast it. Now, I can just about see this fish. I'm going to try and place this fly 3 or 4 foot in front of it, just moving now. It's actually just it's about a rod length in front of it, just moving back over now. Now I'm going to give it a cast, just got back into position.
Just talk up a bit, Tom, and take camera.
Alright, I don't want to be talking too loud. This fish is only about a rod and a half length away from me, and I'm going to try and put this fly in front of it now. Line will poke it. Actually turned and I looked at it twice, I think. looking at that, I'm going to change flies.
What are you going to put on, Tom?
I don't know, I'm going to just have a look through my box.
What about that little grey duster what you tied?
I'll try something like that, but there's no coming off.
Right.
I mean, this is going to be like a terrestrial type of thing. I mean, let's just come up with something like that. Another little pararolling, and this one resembles a small olive, so I'm going to try this one. It's like a little Adams with a foam pulse.
Is that one a little bit bigger, Tom?
This one's only about a size 18, yeah. I mean, that fish actually looked at that fly about 3 or 4 times. It just turned away. Again. Shied away from it at last minute. Did you see it?
No.
Change it a little bit, I think.
Yes. Right, watch this shot again in slow motion. Tom's fly's drifting down just like a real fly would. There's no drag on the line, and that, in conjunction with choosing the right fly, triggers a rise from the fish.
Geared up. See that flag corner at mouth there? Now that is a cracking fish. Oh! It's got out of my hand again. Now that were a good fish. I'm going to have to get something done with these hands.
What's that you've got on?
Right, it's a little Para Adams tied with a yellow foam post. It's on a size 18.
Right.
We've seen one or two small olives actually, so we're going to try. But we've also looks like some pale waters, so
right.
if I don't catch you on this one, I'll change to something like a small pale water and try that.
Right.
Oh, bumped it. That's last one. That was moving quick as well, that. Wild journey.
What you putting on?
Right, so checking one of these, one of the flies that we tied on video. This one.
Right.
Got a little lead underbody. I'm just going to try it down this fast little run here.
Right.
See if we can connect with anything.
And this is where that little bite indicator comes in, Tommy, yeah?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I might shorten this one down a little bit. It's only a shallow swim this. I've got a bit of pace on it.
Let's just have a look at that indicator, just...
Yeah, let me just go to...
You can get it in. Where's it gone? Hold on.
That's what I'm going to actually be watching.
Right. And it acts like a float, yeah?
Yeah. But it's only shallow this swim, so it might be a little bit too heavy this, I don't know.
Right, watch this clip again in slow motion. It's Tom Menzies' line. Watch his bite indicator move as this grayling takes his fly on the drop. There. Really?
Nicest fish you'll ever see, this one. Call it the Lady of the Stream. Beautiful fish, that. Yeah, look at the colours on that.
Yeah.
And also wiry. And pop that back in. Sure that swims off alright.
And that's on a check nymph, Tommy, yeah?
That's on a check nymph that we tried. I'm watching this bail and it's still here at bottom. You're going to have to let this on this thing.
Alright, Tom.
You got that fish on, you ready?
Yeah.
Got a gold neck, copper nymph on, copper wired body, it's got a little bit of a tail on it, and all we're going to be using this for is just a bit of weight to get down, as you can bump it across bottom.
Right, with this check nymphing, I see Tommy stripping that line back a bit and he's trying to induce a take. There's like two methods to fish this check nymph. One's to dead drift it as he's doing now. The other one's just to jerk it a little bit and trying to induce a take. Just trying to switch that fish on. And when he's dead drifting it, only thing he's doing is lifting that line off at water as it's drifting down to him. Just look how easy it is to alter that depth with that bite indicator. It just moves it up that line and it's straight back in, no messing. That fish took it on dead drift. Hold on, Tom. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, this is me, Steve, fishing same method Tommy's just been fishing, Cheltenham style, fishing a black goldhead with that little bite indicator, and I'm into a fish.
Second. Right. That one on autofocus, that. See how that looks.
Right, little black goldhead. Right, there's a little bit of lead on the body, give it some more weight. And again, just to get it down in swim.
And how deep they're fishing, Tommy, up to the bite indicator?
My bite indicator's got about 4.5, 5 foot.
About 4.5, 5 foot.
Yeah.
Right.
That tried to bed it under a rock, that one. See where I got that right to the repeat?
I know. What's that you're putting on?
Well, it's like a sedge pattern, deer hair sedge. Just going to try putting that over it, just to see if it'll bring it up. I mean, it's come up once or twice, but what we'll do is we'll cover it just to see if we can get a bite out of it. We can get a rise like we normally do out of peat.
Tom's seen a fish rise at the neck end of this pool, but because it's not rising readily, he's just having a minute to see if he can position it. And if it don't rise again, what he'll do, he'll put a fly down to where he thinks it will rising. See if we can get a tag. just pointed out that he's just seen it rise again. He's going to cast for it. This stretch at river's hardly flowing. Tom's seen a fish rising. I don't think it's a trout. He's fishing dry fly again, and fly has got hands and umpty. Just trying to bury its head under that weed, trying to get tangled. He managed to turn it. There you go, it's a chub.
Watch that one turn and take it there, Steve.
I didn't get that or talking.
It were swimming about there and I just placed it above it and it tracked it back. And then just turned and took it.
Brilliant.
And straight down to it. Coming up. I don't get it. Did they get that on?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't believe that shot. I'm going to show it to you in a minute when I've got that fish.
That was beautiful.
Just a bit too close to you to get it on properly. And it's gone.
That's only a little chip.
But that was lovely, that.
Have a look at that one, Steve.
This shot's in slow motion again. It just shows this chub attacking that fly with a big mouthful, with a fly what we call the humpty. We're back again. Much faster parts at river. Just watch how far Tommy's casting. He's only casting about a rod length away. And he's picking up fish. Here you go, another little wild brownie. Tom's fishing that same swim with goldhead hairs here. We're just wading into the river just a little bit deeper. Just watch that fly line into even touching river. It's just allowing that fly to get down that little bit deeper. We've got another little brownie.